나와 신나고 뻔게 또 신나 샤바와키 신나무 기그라니 짜이 샤바기라니 짜이무 기그라니
Yep, you guessed it. That is Clint's girlfriend because he likes them hairy, because he doesn't have any himself. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human
I'm gonna
beings.
get her armpit hair transplanted onto my noggin.
It's going to be glorious to see, as we are going to be live for the next 2 hours discussing all the latest and craziest news developing right now. As, of course, there's a lot to talk about, as TMZ is working on a new documentary about the failed taking of the life attempt on Donald Trump. As, of course, there's more conflicting news about Kamala Harris's new VP pick that is highlighting some very interesting decisions by the Democratic Party machine, as it looks like there are some other fortification efforts at hand here, as Elon Musk has declared a large conflict on a big tech social media company. We're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, all here on this independent media broadcast for the next 2 hours. As, of course, you guys get to also participate in the conversation, and one easy way to do that is to sign up to LukeUnfiltered.com. When you do that, you get access to a special Telegram channel. I am inside that Telegram channel right now waiting for a caller. That caller could be you when you sign up to LukeUnfiltered.com. Again, we do not have a caller yet. You want to be that caller? Just sign up. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple. And then, of course, you get a link to the Telegram group, and I will see you there right now. As, of course, we also will be prioritizing mysuperchats.com, a service that allows your super chats to actually show up on screen and only charges us a 3% service charge. Joining us for today's conversation is Aaron Wexler. Aaron, for the people who don't know you, who are you and how would you introduce yourself?
How would I introduce myself? I didn't.
Granddaughter of Leslie Wexner.
Grand conspirator of international human trafficking.
I don't want to say I wish, because that sounds terrible.
Yeah, don't
but
say that.
No, I don't mean that. But just like he was a billionaire, so
That's
that
true.
would be sick. And
You
then
would be an heiress.
I would be an heiress.
You wouldn't need to be here now.
I would not need to be here right now. But I run an Instagram account called NonLibTake. I was actually working in tech up until about 7 months ago, and I had a lot of friends who encouraged me to start posting. I started posting, went viral pretty much immediately, and thought, you know what, this is time to save the country, throw my hat in. A lot of my videos might seem a little silly, but that's kind of the point. Try to get to people with comedy. So that's what I'm doing.
It's more important than ever, I think. You have a lot of very interesting takes, so this should be a very interesting episode. Thank you so much for being here. Clint is here awaiting his hair transplant from that woman's armpits.
She's grown me a fresh crop of luscious locks. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to come in here tomorrow and be just...
Be stanky.
I'm going to be stinky, but I'm going to be beautiful. And that's what really matters. At Liberty Lock Pod on X, if you want to support my work, subscribe there. I'll follow you back. Liberty Lockdown is the show. I will be doing Tower Gang at 9/11 tonight. Do not watch it unless you are racist.
Tower Gang. That's the tagline.
Ian Crossland is in the house
What up,
here
son?
with weather modification powers.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's change the weather.
Speak into the
together.
mic.
Oh, let's change the weather together. You can use your magnetic field to interfere with the clouds. You'd be shocked at how you can move them around. Do you want to know more? I'm a musician
yes.
and an
Who are
actor,
you?
tech
Who are you?
entrepreneur. Been doing this for a long time, 20 years or so. Got into YouTube in 2006. Anyway, I want to help save the world, change the world for better using the technology to its utmost. So let's do that now.
Stephanie is here. She's very entertained, and she's going to be making a pledge to speak for the entirety of this podcast, right, Steph?
I'm going to read all the mysuperchat.coms. Really good for you, Luke.
I appreciate
you.
that. I think they appreciate it as well. Who are you? Where can people find you?
I am Steph We Are Change on Instagram and Steph WRC on X.
All right, let's just get into it because there's so much news happening today. It's absolutely crazy. And I wanted to specifically talk about a story that I think a lot of powerful people, especially in the corporate media, want to go away. And that's a story surrounding the attempted taking of Donald Trump's life. Again, we got to be careful here because we are on YouTube, but it does look like TMZ is actually working on a documentary, which they just teased earlier this morning, that looks absolutely fascinating and interesting as they are daring to uncover some of the very serious questions to what actually is going on here, as I think it's fair to say that the corporate media is running a cover-up operation right now, trying to blame everything on Swiss cheese level failures after failures after failures that point to all one big coincidence. Just a big coinkydink, just a big accident to why someone was able to take shots at the former president of the United States. As we have this Washington Post article saying, quote, "We lost sight of him. Radio traffic shows failed search for Trump rally shooter." Are you kidding me? How do you lose a guy in a field as he's on top of your building that you are stationed in? That's a very serious question. Are you guys buying the BS that the media is trying to sell you right now, saying that they, just oopsie daisy, we just lost this guy, as he was literally on top of a roof near the command center where all the police officers and Secret Service agents were at?
Well, there's probably a guy that lost sight of him, and that's the quote they took from that one guy who just happened to actually literally lose sight of him. But I don't think that the whole day was like, oopsie. Like, where was their drone coverage? Where scouting and condensing the area, they should have had everything on lock if the president's going to be out in the open. Ex-president.
They don't use drones, just so you know. This technology, which is now being used on the battlefield in Ukraine extensively. The Secret Service, to defend the former and likely future president of the United States, they don't use drones. Not at all.
They should, because it would save them money, too.
Obviously, it's super cheap. It's like so clearly what they ought to be doing. But I think that the most earth-shattering news that came out over the past... Whoa, my headphones just went out.
I can still hear you.
Okay.
We still hear you fine.
Over the past 24 to 48 hours was that the Secret Service counter sniper team that was on location that day, that was the first time that there was a Secret Service counter sniper team on Trump since he left the White House. So the very first time that you finally have a Secret Service counter sniper team is the day that he comes within 1 inch of death. That's remarkable.
It's like they were like, hey,
no, it's off again.
You about to go out there? Take this special bulletproof armor that we made just for you today on this one glory. And you're like, okay, the first time they've ever given me special armor, and then the armor fails or whatever.
Right.
That's what it is similar.
And it just so happened to be the first time CNN was live streaming a rally.
And
so many coincidences.
Have they done another one since?
Nope.
Not that I've seen.
Not since he's been running again.
I still have questions to how many shooters there were. Where was the bullets that were shot at? How come there were so many warnings? How come he was able to literally have a rangefinder and still be allowed into the place? How he was able to scout the place? How he was able to have drones? How he was able to have transmitters, explosives, an event? This absolutely reeks to an entire cover-up operation, as it looks like the official story also changed significantly right now, as CBS News is reporting, according to law enforcement, they did not know that this suspicious person had a rifle on him, which is kind of surprising here, as of course we had a testimony just a few days ago from the acting Secret Service director that in fact local law enforcement did know that he had a weapon on him, as of course we also found out through the Washington Post that the retard Oswald stopped firing his weapon after local officers actually began to shoot at him, which again brings up more questions than answers, as of course it was allegedly a counter sniper team that took him out, but there was many shots here. Lots of questions still remain about the current events that unfolded. I still want a full-on kind of detail, moment by moment, timeline, fully describing everything that happened here, and until I get that, I'm going to be going along with this kind of notion that the government was involved here unless they could prove otherwise. And I think that's the notion that we need to have.
Just to let you know that you're not alone, and everybody at this table is not alone in that assessment. When I was up in Orlando shout out to Young Americans for Liberty for inviting me out to YALCON. It's their annual convention. But I was there with Josie and Dave Smith and Vivek and a bunch of great people. But I actually saw Josie sit down and interview Brennan Herrera, the AK guy, Spike Cohen, former vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party, Tulsi Gabbard, Chip Roy, congressman, these are high profile people. And she asked them all this question, malice versus whatever other excuse you want to give these people. And I'll tell you, this has not been released yet, so stay tuned. I think it'll be on timcast.com. But basically, 80% of the people she interviewed were like, "This is a inside job." Like I was stunned that all of them were leaning that direction. Not all, but almost all of them were leaning that direction. And I think that until there's actual transparency, we have no reason to believe otherwise.
Yeah,
That's how I feel.
I want to see all the records. I want to see all the evidence. I want to see everyone there deposed. I want to see them literally give their testimony to what happened moment by moment. And until I get that, inside job.
I can't believe it took this long. Like, they should have gotten all those people and be like, okay, we got to do an investigation. We got to find out what you saw before memory starts jogging, before things start getting muddled. It's too big of a story to just let people sit for 2 weeks now? How long has it been?
A lot longer than that.
According to the guy who replaced Cheadle as the temporary head of the Secret Service, those hearings were, I think, 10 or 12 days. I think it was 12 days after the attack, and they still had not really interviewed local PD, like actually gotten them on the record as to what.
And then local PD and Secret Service are contradicting themselves on their statements to what actually happened here, which is like, okay, I don't believe any of you guys. So there's a lot of kind of underhanded kind of assertions trying to blame Iran for this, even with Pakistani ISI allegedly coming out kind of hinting at this larger plot that was kind of known about even before this attempted taking of Donald Trump's life. And it definitely does seem that if it was successful, we probably would have been in a complete war with Iran, which is brewing right now inside of the Middle East, with the full command and leadership of Kamala Harris, of course, calling for, of course, the larger rallying call and war cries by her neocon Republican buddies.
See, that entire fear-mongering nonsense doesn't pass the sniff test either, because it was after Donald Trump used extrajudicial means to eliminate a human being, being safe, when it comes to Soleimani, that I believe that there was a fatwa that was declared against Trump back then. So, like, you've already known that the Iranians are not very fond of Donald Trump. So that I don't buy that thesis at all. But then they tried to make it sound as if, no, actually, our security wasn't lax on that day in Pennsylvania. It was actually heightened because of the Iranian threat. Well, if this is a heightened security protocol, wow. You guys are unbelievably bad at your jobs. That's just impossible to believe.
I feel like every single article coming out about this is written by Karine Jean-Pierre, because it's just like they're all conflicting. None of it makes sense. Yep. They're rewriting history in real time, right? Like these articles, they don't make sense. You could go on Instagram and see on lots of pages videos of people who were there yelling to Secret Service saying there's a guy on the roof with a tool that we won't say on YouTube, but we see the video footage. So it's like, I think you guys know the movie Zoolander, where it's like you get hypnotized by Mugatu. That's like what I feel like they're trying to do to us right now. Like, if we just say it enough, you'll just believe it, right?
But why is it working on so many people? Because like it does feel. Just imagine, and I've already said this in past episodes, but like just imagine if this attack had happened to Barack Obama or Joe Biden, or Jill Biden, or Michelle Obama.
We'd have martial law.
I mean, or at minimum, it would be a year-long demonization of everyone on the right wing. Mm-hmm. It would be a year-long push to get guns grabbed and Patriot Act 2.0.
And they would be obsessing about it every single day on the news. It would be their new J6 that they would have the perfect excuse for.
It hasn't even been a month yet, Luke, and it's like this story, it's like this attack didn't even happen. It's amazing. The power of the media, despite the fact that the alternative media, including ourselves, are increasing in prominence day after day, month after month, year after year, they still get to front run the news. They set the narrative. We dismantle it. As long as they have the power to set the narrative to the boomers and everybody that's still watching these pathological liars, we have a disadvantage. And I don't know if in the 120 days from that attack to the election, if we can actually get the truth out there, it's going to be really hard.
Exactly. And I think, the people who orchestrated this are doing everything in their power right now to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't get elected, because if he does, he's going to try to find out what actually happened here. But he also made kind of similar statements on Truth Social, saying that, if this was Iran, it's kind of game over for Iran as well. Yeah. So those statements aren't promising, looking at the larger perspective and picture here of what's brewing in the Middle East right now as well. So
that makes me really nervous.
It's kind of concerning as well. But again, I think the corporate media is doing what they usually do. They try to obfuscate, they try to confuse people, and we are dealing with people having a shorter attention span more than ever. And with that shorter attention span, a lot of the kind of favorability that Donald Trump was able to get from all of this, especially standing defiantly, being allowed to stand up as bullets were literally whizzing by him, that kind of larger notion is already being obfuscated by large big tech social media companies that are being sued. We're going to be talking about that probably on the second platform that is suing them. But before that, we want to, of course, highlight again a lot of the kind of official talking points by the mainstream media today, because it's not just CBS News, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post. It's also CNN News that is saying text messages, radio chatter show confused communications around tracking Trump's would-be person who tried to take his life. And again, they're trying to kind of obfuscate this on, they just didn't know what was happening here. So it's going to be fascinating to see what TMZ does, as of course TMZ Studio has just announced a documentary that they're going to be releasing for free about this entire event. Here's a clip from the teaser that was released this morning.
TMZ Studios has a new documentary that drops on Tubi. It's called Under Fire, the Trump Assassination Attempt. And it is, I think, pretty shocking. We have a number of former Secret Service officials on talking about how shocking the security lapses were.
There was nothing good that I have to say about how those events unfolded.
They talk about a debate that's going on that women were allegedly placed in the position on the stage there, even though they were too short.
Half of those people are women. That is a conscious decision that was made purely for optics purposes. They put him into just as much danger as if they weren't there at all.
Everything that I've seen, they did textbook.
I understand the tragedies that occurred at that site with somebody dying and losing their life and the injuries, but a protectee of the United States Secret Service is alive. At the end of the day, that's a win.
And when you hear the eyewitnesses and you hear the video and the audio from the video of people screaming, there's a guy with a gun up on the roof 30 seconds before the shooting actually occurred, when you see the guy climbing up 2 minutes before the shooting occurred. And all the while, Trump is speaking on the stage. No one from the Secret Service screamed, "Get him off the stage, get him on the ground," which they could have done.
I have a hard time believing that someone didn't hear.
So the clip goes on, and I'm just kind of curious if they're going to do a good job at this. From the little teaser that we're getting, it does highlight that they are asking, I think, the right questions here. And I think this might help kind of persuade a lot of people to fully understand what's happening here. Do you guys have hopes for this TMZ documentary, or do you think it will be another cover-up?
I have no hope. I think the documentary itself might be good, but I think people just don't want to believe what they don't want to believe, and they don't want to see what they don't want to see. So that's why we could bring up all these points. But there's so many comments online of defending the female Secret Service agents, for example, which is so ridiculous. The only reason why I am not glad in a way that there was a female Secret Service agent on that stage is because it gave us one of the most iconic photos of all time in American history, because she's so short that we actually get to see Trump. And if it weren't for that, we wouldn't see him. But that's ridiculous. You should be able to cover the asset that you're supposed to be protecting. You should be like a shield for the president, and she is not that. You see his entire head. So no, I think this documentary could be as convincing as we could have all the evidence here, and people just won't believe it.
I've railed against ESG and DEI as much as anybody. In fact, I was one of the first people to start talking about ESG like 3 years ago. But I'm concerned that the female Secret Service, DEI hires is going to be the narrative that they push most aggressively, as opposed to what really matters is who's actually culpable for this attack. Like, that's what matters most. Yes, they were trying to do like 30%, I think was Cheadle's hiring quota. They wanted to have 30% of Secret Service agents be females. Obviously, that's all nonsensical. It's all not based off of merit, and it should end, and I hope it will. But what I really care about is, was the government involved, and to what extent, and who and why, and will we ever get justice in that regard? I just hope that the DEI concerns are not what becomes the focus, and we actually focus on who's culpable.
Oh, well, I want to say it doesn't matter if they're man or woman. That human wasn't big enough to cover the target. That's a failure. But also, they say very good. The Secret Service agents rushed the stage. They all screwed up when Trump was like, wait. and then he stood up and put his fist in the air. Easily could have taken one between the eyes. What were they? They're not supposed to let the target stand up and reveal his head after bullets have been flying. That was crazy failure. And they just let Trump use his voice to get them to bow down and let him stand up under a threat. Like, that's terrible failure on the part of all of them.
I mean, I guess it's hard to say when you're in the midst of something, but they are supposed to be trained for that. I did notice that woman kind of did like risk her life. Like, she did put herself out there. Yes, she's short, but out of all of them, I was like, well, at least this lady's not hiding behind. There was literally one girl hiding behind, cowering behind. I was like, what?
Hey, she was short, but she was chubby. So, you know, what she
She
makes
went
up
up
for
there.
being,
No, you're being too easy on
Yeah.
her. She was adjusting her sunglasses, and she went to pick up a hat at one point. Like, when you watch all the footage, it's
and
really
then
painful.
there's
that
literally
girl was hiding.
There's literally a photo of her hiding like behind Donald
No,
Trump.
that's the chubby one.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
blonde, skinny one that's in the iconic photo. I know, yes, technically it was risking her life, but she also was adjusting her sunglasses.
Well, just a reminder, John Cardillo, I think, was one who told us about this, but it was like, this is protocol. You have to surround the protectee. So even though she does look as if she's cowering and using Trump as a body shield herself, you don't know if there aren't multiple assailants. So I think protocol is actually to surround the president. The issue
get him out there, not let him stand up and face the crowd when bullets are whizzing by people.
But the issue, as she pointed out, is that the woman, Donald Trump, is 6'3", 6'4". You just simply can't have hardly any woman on earth are tall enough to actually be a body shield to Donald Trump. It's just that's just not so.
It should be a height requirement. Okay, only you can be here for this person if you're taller than them.
Yeah.
I saw Secret Service have these like special shields too that they kind of whip out during these kind of scenarios and situations that we saw other kind of protective agencies use during attempted kind of attacks on other political leaders. Why didn't they actually have those? They have literal like things that they are able to like whip out and use as cover, used as shields here. And the fact that they didn't get him out of there right away really does highlight kind of more questions about what was really going on here. As of course, you know, the attempt luckily failed. He moved his head. He got grazed. He got hit. But at the same time, it was, I think, something that luckily failed. And luckily, they weren't able to get their way. Luckily, Donald Trump is still here. Luckily, we still have a country. Luckily, we're not at war with Iran just yet. As of course, there are other kind of things brewing right now in the Middle East that could still spark up that larger conflict. And this is why I said that the larger potential for a kind of false flag-like attack, especially in the Middle East right now, is essentially at an all-time high, personally.
I get concerned when they talk about rockets getting fired out of a country, because I'm like, there's no way to confirm that if a rocket came from Iran, that it was an Iranian governmental rocket. Like, you could sneak a guy across the border and fire it yourself easily.
Yep. It's very hard to know, and there's just so much deception, and the media doesn't do any investigative reporting. Like, there's no actually digging to find out what's true. So you just have a bunch of media apparatchiks which repeat the lie from whatever the State Department's saying, and then we're all expected to believe it. But if you've actually been aware of these lies for the past 20 years, ever since the war on terror began, you'll never believe these people on face value. And if we had a media that was actually trying to deliver the truth, it would be a real nice asset to have right now. But we don't. Just going back to the issue with the communications, this is another really important point that I don't think most people know. Kim Cheadle, as head of the Secret Service, was also responsible for the data transfer failure that allowed for all of the communications between their officers on J6 to disappear. So if you are as concerned as I am about what actually happened on that day and whether or not there was plainclothes police officers and informants and whatever else that we already know about, those communications were lost accidentally during a data transfer by the same woman who headed the Secret Service, who was responsible for not giving even close to adequate protection for the favorite to be the next president of the United States. If you think that's all coincidental, okay, let's add to the fact that you have local PD that is actually on the ground telling spectators to clear out because they know that there's an imminent threat. That is minutes prior to shots ringing out. There is still no direct communication channel. And once again, Kim Cheadle acknowledges there is no recordings of these communications, so we don't even know if local PD communicated the threat to Secret Service, in which case there would have been a stand-down order, because that's the only explanation you would have for not pulling off the stage immediately, correct? So there is a lot of questions. And I'm going to put it like that until we get to the next platform.
Absolutely. A lot of questions that I have a lot of concerns that we will never get the true answers to. But it does seem like there's a congressional investigation, a parallel congressional investigation. So there are some people looking into it, but the corporate media, again, just trying to run cover, saying, oh, yeah, no, accident, total coincidence, is really kind of eye-opening today, since they're all speaking from the same kind of message that they were probably delivered and told to regurgitate, because that's usually how the corporate media works. But there was a break in that kind of a larger regurgitation today with very interesting comments from Jim Kramer that actually came out and told his viewers that if they care about their paychecks, they got to go with Donald Trump. Fascinating conversation. Here's the tidbit that hopefully will load and play here from CNBC.
If you're in the stock market, if you care about your paycheck, you go with Trump. If that's what you do.
You do?
Yeah, well, he wants to cut your taxes.
Oh, he wants to cut taxes.
Your taxes.
My taxes got raised enormously, as you know, under the last Trump administration.
No, I don't know if he wants to cut your president.
No. I'm in a blue state.
Oh, yeah, no, forget you're out.
They want to kill
out.
us.
I tried to I tried to go to.
They want to put us out of business.
Pennsylvania.
That's what they want to do to us.
I can become an
they already
Italian
did
citizen
by getting rid of the salt tax deduction.
Wow.
Yeah.
That derailed hard.
It did. Jim Kramer, usually wrong about everything.
I was going to say, I wish he hadn't said that.
I know.
It's inverse Kramer. I don't want him supporting Trump.
That other guy
I'm
could
going to go
not.
bankrupt under Trump. This is terrible
God,
news.
that's
We're
what
going
we
to
need
lose all of
get.
our money.
The other guy was like shuffling so nervous when he brought up vote for Trump. And then Kramer's like, you're leaving me out here to dry, bro. I got nothing. And the other guy's like wiggling all around like, oh, I me not got. And then Kramer's just like, I guess this segment's done. Like he was.
Kramer immediately transfers into, it'd be easier for me to move to Italy. Like they were just, I think they both realized that he shouldn't have said what he said.
Yeah, I think he got nervous.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's like, oh, crap, we didn't read from the approved messages. We're going to get in trouble for this one. As, of course, it is making headlines. People are talking about it. But I think if there's anyone that you're not looking for an endorsement from, it is Jim Kramer. I don't
100%.
want that guy giving me any advice with anything I'm in. I don't want that guy supporting any politician that, of course, automatically people are going to be kind of looking at and thinking here the exact opposite of whatever he's trying to cook up here.
If you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, if you're a shareholder of a stock, if you're a presidential candidate, the last thing you want is Jim Kramer saying,
It's like the kiss of death.
this is our guy. It's like, no. Oh, God.
Maybe it's just so obvious that Trump is so good that even Kramer gets it this time.
You know what would be funny, though? If Trump
He doesn't get the obvious, though. He's always wrong about almost everything he says.
You know what would be amazing? If the Trump campaign comes out and they issue a cease and desist to Jim Kramer.
Disavow. We disavow this endorsement. We don't want it.
It's like when Jason Aldean was asked if, Biden asked if they could use one of his songs for the and he said absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Trump should do.
That'd be actually, that's a genius move because it plays into internet meme culture.
President Trump, if you're
call me
hearing
Trump.
this.
I can advise you guys.
This is Kramer. Was he like famous for saying Bitcoin's never going to go anywhere? Don't invest in Bitcoin. Gold. Don't invest in gold. Like, has he said these kind of things?
He said a bunch of
He said a
terrible
lot of
predictions.
stuff, especially with his 2008 economic kind of crisis. That
He says
was
there's
saying,
no
"It's gonna be
issue
fine,
with Bear Stearns. We're fine. Everybody relax. Merrill Lynch is good. What are you guys talking about? But then he did the same thing on Friday before the entire global market melted down on Monday.
yeah.
He does it over and over and over again, and people still watch him.
But you know what? It's better to be always wrong than only sometimes wrong.
That's true. That's true. Because
opposition.
then we can actually go
we
and
know.
we can bet on the inverse, which is smart.
What if he knows what he's doing and he's just trying to now warn people by being wrong all the time? And he's like, "Holy crap! I gotta help these people by being wrong."
That would
if
be
I'm
4D
him, that's what I'm
chess.
doing.
My opinion of his actual role is to comfort retail investors so that the big money movers can exit trades when there's problems. So every time there's reports of problems, he tells the retail investors that are watching his stupid program to sit tight where everything's fine, and then the big the whales just dump. I honestly believe that's his job.
He does seem to look at inflative numbers and say it's a great economy. He said that about Trump, the best numbers of our lives, but it was just this serious inflation. And it would if all the numbers go up, that doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Yeah, well, he was saying that during the lockdowns, which was not the best time in American economic history by any stretch. But because the stock market was booming, because they printed $5 trillion that year, yeah, okay. Like, these people are just reprehensible.
Yep, Steph, we have a bunch of super chats. Can you read them?
Yes, sure. We have one from Kyle West, 737, saying they stole Hamtramck from us. Please give the Veritas story some legs.
I don't know what Hamtramck is.
I haven't followed that one either.
It's a Veritas story, apparently.
If it's about the Act Blue stuff, that was interesting.
Okay. We also have Richin HH saying, Luke, where is the best place to send you a screenshot of a Facebook post of a receipt of a Venezuelan woman who forgot after making some purchases? EBT food stamp balance with over $13K and EBT cash since almost $5K.
I think I saw that one, but send it to at Steph We Are Change on Twitter. Her DMs are open. Keep going.
Okay, we got Red Viking saying, Steph, read 3 times fast. Female conscription. Why?
Keep going 3 times.
Female conscription, female conscription, female conscription.
There you
That's
go.
pretty
Four
good.
times.
There you go.
Pretty good.
Really
Pretty
slow,
good.
actually.
Oh, go faster.
Keep faster. Let's go. Let's go.
Okay,
Let's go.
yeah. Let's do
My
it.
regular speed is like Ben Shapiro, okay? Like my relaxed state. Sometimes I hear my friends will like play my video in front of me, and I ask them if they sped it up, and they say no.
Do you
That's
ever
just
listen
what you sound like.
to yourself on 2 times speed or 1.5?
I don't listen to myself, but when it's played around me, I actually am shocked.
Anybody that makes videos, good advice, unsolicited, put up like 5 of your own videos and listen to them all at once. Super awesome. You'll learn something about yourself.
Oh, God.
What do you learn?
Like the way you are.
Oh, interesting.
Steph, rating.
Okay, we got Clint's form-fitting pride. Hola, amigos. Like, once again, Clint's girlfriend has given me indigestion.
Yeah, all of us.
You and me both, brother.
Yep. Keep going.
Yeah, that was gross. Me, exclamation mark, says, non-lib take, marry me. Cat, heart eyes emoji, rose emoji.
The wrong emojis, so I have to decline.
You have chosen poorly.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And finally, we have Rumble Quacker saying, old cat lady of pizza art chat here also watched Timcast. They were discussing 12 kids Elon Musk had fathered. I heard Ian. For weeks, I've thought our lovely Ian has been seeding more than clouds.
Oh,
Are you seeding more than clouds,
dirty-
Ian?
Of course, Luke. That's what I do with my life. Spread the seed, man. Leave the world a little more beautiful, populated, and clean than you found it.
In related dirty dog news, we have this from the Kamala Harris rally that, of course, happened just a few minutes ago. As, of course, her campaign is cooking on social media. As David Hogg just tweeted, quote, "I'm not crying right now. You are," with this clip from the rally that just took place with the new VP pick for Kamala Harris.
Who's that guy?
Just a room filled with morons.
Yeah.
As the governor of Wisconsin.
Minnesota.
Even better. Sorry, guys, in Wisconsin.
It's just them cheering for each other. That's it.
Yeah,
That's why David Hogg is crying.
That was newsworthy.
That doesn't take a lot to make him cry.
Just for the YouTube censor purposes, I want to make sure that they're aware that, in fact, Hunter Biden was not on the stage.
What did you say?
It does seem like there's a lot of people.
Did you see that?
That came out to this particular rally? It does look like they filled a stadium. They're doing a lot of different kind of celebrity endorsements. They're also having a lot of musicians perform in a lot of these stadiums. But it definitely does look like there's a lot of other things happening behind the scenes that are helping Kamala Harris, especially when you Google her. A lot of pictures come up, a lot of news comes up, her social media comes up. But when you Google Donald Trump, for some reason, the top stories are Kamala Harris and Tim Walz right now. As, of course, Aaron, you discovered this a couple days ago yourself. Elon Musk then kind of retweeted you. What do you make of these kind of fortification efforts that we're kind of seeing play out through big tech social media right now?
The scary thing for me is that it feels like 2020 all over again, right? And I think that a few months ago, I was saying to friends, I said, the left, they're not going to let they're not going to take this lying down. They're not going to just let Joe Biden be the nominee. They're not going to let themselves lose. I heard some whispers around saying, the Democrats, they've resigned themselves to the fact that they're going to lose and that Trump's going to win. And I said, there's just no way. We know what they did in 2020, and they're going to do it all over again. So, I mean, I don't know what words I'm allowed to say here. So I'll just say tech is in bed with the DNC, and they're basically like a Hamas propaganda arm, and they're also just like the DNC propaganda arm as well. And that's what we're seeing. So none of this is surprising. And I think anyone who, I think the right allow themselves to fall asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, overconfidence.
Yeah.
You said you worked in tech. What were you doing before?
I was on the business side, but I worked with engineers and data scientists. So I was leading business development at a few different companies before leaving for Instagram.
Oh, nice upgrade.
But not working for Instagram, leaving for my own pursuit.
I just want to clarify the reason I made that point about it being not Hunter Biden on that stage is that there's real harsh rules about manipulated media. And you just have to be very clear with the audience that was a joke.
It was a cheap fake.
Yes.
It was satire.
It was a cheap
comedy.
fake. So
please,
I have
technocratic overlords, don't punish us.
Yes, I have to make that very clear.
For trying to make people laugh.
I didn't see. Was there a video of Hunter Biden?
It was playing right in front of you. It's on the screen.
Oh, I didn't see the.
It was Hunter in like a diaper with his red scarf, shirtless.
Yeah, he was having, he's having a blast there. Yeah. He was having a lot of fun there. As of course, they busted a move down there.
The rest of it was legitimate. That is actually Megan Thee Stallion that's twerking in front
at
of
a Kamala Harris rally, and that's how they're able to get stadium full of individuals. And the video that we just saw that was sent out by David Hogg does show a stadium full of people. That's huge. A lot of people.
Did Beyonce open? Like, how did they get that many people to show up?
Marina Abramovich did a little sacrifice there,
my gosh.
and just did some channeling by putting some interesting liquids on the wall to, of course, usher everyone into the stadium.
Candace Owens explained a little bit about this Stallion pop artist or rap star. I didn't even know about this rap star. I guess it's the new one, but she was basically explaining that you have to be endorsed by a rap star to actually get somewhere or to be considered black. It's kind of interesting, her take, but she does talk about it.
Well, I think the interesting angle on this is that Kamala Harris is so obviously fraudulent that she actually has to cater to the black audience. She has to basically convince the black voter that she's black, when she obviously has claimed to be black for the past few years. I just think that's fascinating because normally, Obama didn't have to do that.
Yeah. Did you see her leaving the record store with her fake little records?
Yeah.
And it's okay, who buys records? And also, if you're really a fan, you'd already have them at home. And
Kamala, show us what records you're spinning. It's it was so contrived.
I think she was taking them out before they asked the question, right? She was so excited.
But this is a smart strategy here. What they're doing,
Yeah,
they're bringing in musicians, celebrities. People want to see musicians. They want to see a concert, and I'm automatically thinking about the kind of private conversations me and Tim Pool had with Kanye West. He specifically came to us and was like, "Hey, I want to be president of the United States. I want to run. How do I do this?" And I'm like, "Simple, dude. You do concerts, and at the concerts you have voter registration forms, and you have people who are your fans register to vote, and you do a bunch of these free concerts everywhere." And Kanye was like, "That's brilliant. That's super smart." That's exactly what the Democrats are doing right now. I don't see Donald Trump doing this himself. Donald Trump usually is the biggest kind of star that attracts a lot of people to come out and see him. He fills a lot of the stadiums. He fills a lot of these arenas where tens of thousands of people want to hear him speak. I think it's fair to say that that really isn't happening with Kamala, as of course she has one-liners like this that aren't really as eloquent as Donald Trump's.
We have to stay woke. Everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke. Yeah.
And those other women are like, how is this woman in a position? Their reactions are so great in that clip. They're just like, what is she doing here?
She is literally my night terror demon. I'm not even kidding. I don't know how I'm going to do this for the next 90 days, and I certainly can't do it for the next 4 or 8 years, as if we'll even have a planet if she's actually elected. This has to stop. I know I said this exact same thing yesterday. I'm pleading with you, America. You cannot make her a thing. Please don't make her a thing. She's so obviously transparently evil. If you guys honestly think she should be the president of the United States, I have to leave. I have to leave the country.
There's no thinking about it. It's being done right before our eyes. And right now,
Fair point.
seeing that Stallion stadium full of people. That is insane. Like that's like a Trump stadium. That's what. Did you see how excited they were?
Yeah.
They were
Well,
shaking those signs.
Aaron, you brought up a great point. You know, the Republicans think they have it in the bag. They don't.
They don't at all.
And
Exactly.
The same kind of rules and fortifications that the Democrats set up the last time, the Republicans didn't do anything about.
Yeah.
So the polls are looking favorable for Kamala, and the infrastructure and the big tech social media companies are there to help fortify everything for her. And there's a big chance that Clint is going to be living his nightmare and living under the rule of a very dominant, strong black woman.
No, that's not the issue. The issue is that she's a tyrant. She's like legitimately a Marxist. I don't know if people understand this. She is to the left of Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is a socialist. So if you're left of a socialist, you're a real problem for people that actually believe in property rights and capitalism and liberty. All of the things I care about, she is the polar opposite of, and it has nothing to do with her sex or race or anything like that. And that they will try and frame it that way, that I oppose her because of these immutable characteristics that I couldn't care less about. No, philosophically, principally, culturally, she does not represent what America should represent, which is the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, property rights, gun rights. She opposes literally everything that makes America great. That is not an exaggeration.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What has she done or said that indicates she's a Marxist?
She says it's not enough. You can play this montage where she talks about it over and over again, but she talks about equity over and over. She's like, people are born with less, so that means that they're going to need more. She says it like a kindergarten teacher, but she's talking about socialism. It's like by each according to their needs, like actual Karl Marx quotes, but she's just boiling it down into like sub 75 IQ people. It's terrible.
Yeah,
I'll find some stuff.
The reason she's preaching the kind of woke doctrine, it's because it's a religion that many kind of leftist governments in Europe and in Latin America are following to the T. So if you look at a lot of the protocols that she's calling for, she previously called for ending fracking. She's calling for climate justice. She's calling for DEI efforts. She's calling to disarm American citizens as well. This is the same kind of blueprint to what was enacted in places like Venezuela. Places where, of course, they followed the same kind of protocol, which led them to the place that they're in now, an absolute despotic hellscape with no economic prosperity at all and a total financial collapse. This is where we're headed towards with her leadership, and especially with her open immigration border policies, which she's speaking out against. She's saying she's going to be, of course, restricting people at the border, when in reality, she's, the borders are, and she led to record historic numbers of individuals crossing into the United States illegally into the United States, which is going to change the face of this country and potentially allow the Democrats to be in power forever without ever being questioned or challenged ever again.
And how exactly did that nation fall? It was because they took over the Supreme Court, exactly what Kamala Harris and Biden, for that matter, and the Democrat Party is talking about. They're going to pack the Supreme Court. They're going to find ways to impeach sitting justices. They are trying to basically just throw out all of the checks and balances and implement what would be kind of a leftist totalitarianism. To answer your question more explicitly, what she talks about is not even equal opportunity or equal rights. She talks about equal outcomes specifically. You do not get equal outcomes under a free market. And for the record, for the the morons that might be listening to me right now, if you try and mandate equal outcomes through the government, it just means we all starve to death. So that's actually what she's talking about, but she's framing it in a way that's supposed to be good and, sunshine and rainbows.
You said earlier it sounded like she was doing it like as a kindergarten teacher to a bunch of little kids. And her VP selection, this guy tweeted out, "I'm very excited to this. Yay, let's go. It feels like the first day of school working with Kamala." It's like, oh my God. Did he say that? It says he feels like it's the first day of school. Wow. Like, nobody knows anything, especially Kamala, because she's there too. It's her first day of like, what am I doing here? It was such a derogatory tweet. I don't think he meant it at all like that. I think he was like, let's go.
Well, she represents a kind of blank slate to the general population. But in reality, it's going to be Biden 2.0 or really Barack Obama 4.0 that we're going to be living under. As of course, all the policies that she's kind of calling for and supports are absolutely atrocious for the American people, in my own personal opinion. I did did a deep dive on this because when you go on her website, it doesn't talk about her issues. It doesn't talk about her policies. It doesn't talk about what she's planning on doing. It's a bunch of empty rhetoric about freedom and democracy that doesn't really amount to anything at all. And there's a reason she's not running on any kind of policies other than, I'm not that orange man, and I'm going to be here for the women. As, of course, women will be deciding this year's election.
Yes, they will.
And a lot of them overwhelmingly vote for the Democratic political party.
Yeah, what's wrong with women?
Another woman voting for the Democratic political party and dishing out a large sum of money is Ben Stiller, who just announced that he's giving $150,000 to the Kamala Harris campaign, as he announced that he also wishes that he was black, probably like Kamala.
She's Indian, she's black, she's everything. You can be more than one thing. It's incredible. You know, I'm Jewish and Irish. I wish I was black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was black.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Talk about cringy.
It's like he's like all of his
videos.
movies combined. He's like dumber than Zoolander, and he's talking about, like, remember Tropic Thunder? Right? It's like,
Yep.
but I know that was Robert Downey Jr., but still, he's like, he wishes he were black. That's so ridiculous. No, but I know we all laugh at this and it's so cringe and obvious to us, but that to me makes me nervous because, again, on the right, we're getting so complacent saying like, well, obviously twerking is ridiculous and like, that's not what gets you votes. That's actually what gets you votes, right? So we could sit here and be morally superior, or we can try to win. And I don't know how we do that exactly, but people really buy this stuff. And you know what's scarier than all the things you're talking about with how she is a true communist, that she chose someone to the left of her.
Yep.
So if we look at this guy and what he believes, she found the one person more extreme.
Yep. And which is kind of like Joe Biden picking Kamala Harris. He picked someone horrible more than himself in order to kind of protect himself. And I think that's the same kind of maneuver Kamala did, as of course we have seen similar rhetoric from her VP pick, who came out and apologized for being a, quote, privileged white man.
Oh my
yes,
God.
This is the VP pick for Kamala Harris saying this.
We pat ourselves on the back sometimes that we acknowledge we have the worst racial disparities. I understand that the privilege I've been given as a white man and the privilege of sitting in the office of governor, that privilege had better be used to not just talk about the problem, but to solve the problem.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I want to say right now that I can't, that I'm going to have to save for the next broadcast in about 15 minutes from now. But a lot of this is kind of pathetic. A lot of this is kind of them addressing a woke cult, a woke religion, saying, I'm bad because of the way that I was born, and I wish I was this person. Kamala's this person. We got to support this person because of the color of their skin. Not their merits, not what they accomplished, not what they're going to do, but look, their skin color, that's trendy, and all the corporations are telling you to support and like.
I think this is actually a really profound point, as laughable as all this is. But you have Ben Stiller and the governor of Minnesota, who are both basically telling you, if you're listening, that they feel bad about who they are. They feel bad about their skin, and they want to change it. And they'll do so through governance. They'll do so through jokes. They'll do so like however they can through policy making. But that's sad. That's a really disgusting way to view the world and to view yourself. And the fact that this is such a pervasive ideology is really concerning to me.
It's not an ideology. It's an agenda. It's something that's being carried out and implemented in almost all the TV shows and all the movies and all the commercials and all the social media algorithms, specifically highlighting beta, low T white guys that are absolutely pathetic and absolute losers. And that's the messaging that they're going along with here. That's the main thing that they're kind of prioritizing here. As of course, it's kind of cringy and disgusting to kind of look at here, as of course we should be a country that values people on what they do or they're going to be doing, not the way that they were just aesthetically born or their kind of skin color that doesn't really mean anything other than virtue signaling by the left saying, look at me, I'm a different color. I'm better.
Leftists always miss the point too, because what are they saying? They're saying America is so racist that I wish I were black. So it's like to be in the highest position of our hierarchy of oppression here, and to be like, top status in America, it's being black. So it's like I can't.
It just obviously it disproves their thesis in what they follow up with, because they're saying it's so bad to be black in America. I wish I were. It's like, well, then it's not. You're lying. It's just so obvious, but it really does. It disturbs me deeply that people actually feel this way, and I don't think it's actually an act. I think many of these people genuinely feel pain for who they are and how they were born.
Yeah, I think it's dietary. I think what's happened is our system of food has become so toxic.
Low T soy betas.
And people are eating fake foods with like food colorings, Yellow 5 Lake made from petroleum. They've got aspartame, crazy high fructose corn, crazy chemicals, endocrine disrupting chemicals. Yeah, the massive amount of vegetable oils like cottonseed oil and canola oil, and they're physically in pain. And so it's translating, and they're susceptible to taking on a mental painhood of what is wrong, what is wrong. They're confused. They don't know why they are in pain. A lot of it's from this fucking diet, dude.
Yeah.
Family-friendly show.
When you clear up your diet, it's so easy to become resilient to self-hatred, from my experience.
Right.
And just to think clearly, like, you know, it seems like they're easily swayed. And honestly, you know what's really confusing to me is this whole Ben Stiller thing. Like, why isn't Trump going and getting like some rappers or something?
You know why? Because they won't come out. They won't actually.
50 Cent?
There's no way. One? Yeah, that is good. But there's no way that 100% of Hollywood is actually liberal. Like, there are just closet conservatives all over Hollywood, and they won't come out because they know it's the end of their career. Was it Richard? I mean, this is such an old example, but like Richard Gere spoke in favor of Taiwan at one point, and he got, you know, stuck in like the Hallmark rom-com movie category forever because of his stance on China, whereas John Cena, you know, apologizes to the Chinese people for mentioning Taiwan, and he gets all the big movies.
In Mandarin.
That's another
in Mandarin, he apologized.
In
Mandarin.
It was just absolutely awful.
He goes, and I was like, whoa.
I'm like, come on, dude, really? It was so pathetic. He was growling. He was literally just apologizing for making. It wasn't even a mistake. He was talking about his tour.
Yeah.
And he had to apologize because he recognized a country that the CCP doesn't recognize.
Yes.
Which just shows you how much control they actually have over the Hollywood industry that, of course, does anything for a buck. They'll say anything for a buck. And this is what some people are arguing. Are these people being paid to be this kind of pathetic, or are they just naturally this kind of pathetic?
Well, I think in order to get jobs in Hollywood, you actually have to, like, by and large, you have to actually believe this stuff because it's really hard to maintain that. And guess what? They're actors. This is what they do. So they can basically convince themselves after you play this role for decades that you are really upset with how you were born. But just to clarify one thing, I'm not claiming that the inverse is the path either. I'm not saying that like racial pride is the pathway to take. I'm just saying that racial self-hatred is also really destructive and collectivist in a kind of an inverse way. So I don't know. I just think it's dangerous.
This election is going to be very interesting because you see Kamala Harris kind of pandering to the black voters, saying that she washes her collard greens in the bathtub. She's changing her accent. She's changing the way she says y'all. And Donald Trump isn't pandering. He's being himself. So we're going to see what is going to kind of win this election. Will it be someone just being honest, someone just being real? And I think that's the kind of draw of Donald Trump, that he's kind of himself. He doesn't try to be somebody else that he's not. He doesn't put fake hot sauce in his purse. He doesn't try to pretend like he's somebody that he's not, while Kamala is literally playing up this whole show, this whole theater of portraying herself as now this kind of very strong black woman, when in reality that wasn't kind of a factor in her political career at all. The inverse was that she was Indian, the first Indian U.S. senator that, of course, everyone was talking about. But now a lot of people are forgetting that, and they're just saying black woman because they want the black vote.
I think that with all aspects of media and access to media equal, that genuine people will win. Like in 2016, that was an example of I thought.
Bless your heart.
I'm not feeling
agree with that at all.
But if all the media is free to everyone, but what's happened is it's been controlled. So the media now is pumping this Kamala Harris campaign, just pouring God knows how much money into this. If they paid the people to be at her rally, I don't know.
Yeah, they do. But they also give them a free concert to get them to turn out. But here's the thing that I think people are sleeping on. What they realized is that a fair race, like say Trump versus Hillary, because his authenticity does shine through because she's so transparently disingenuous. But what did they do this go around? They replaced Biden about 100 days out from Election Day. They know that they still have, because they have first mover advantage, because they set the narrative through the media, they think that they can set the narrative and win because it's only 100 days. Why do you think they didn't have a genuine primary process? Why do you think they didn't have some? They put Biden up because they intended to remove him and put her in. I'm 99% confident that was the plan.
agree with you.
Exactly. I feel like we've been duped. Like, I literally feel like we've been duped and that this has been the plan all along.
Yes. Well, with that debate, when Trump cleaned the floor of Biden, like you had to sit there and think, there's no way they would just let him go out there and let him tank like that. And they all knew he's been like that, right? And everyone was celebrating victory, Trump won. And I thought, like, there's no way they didn't set him up to fail. And I totally agree with you. I think that this is the excuse that people needed because people were having a really hard trouble, like left, people like I'd say moderates, leaning left people who would have voted for Trump for the first time. They needed that one excuse to not vote for him, right? And so now that it's not Biden and now that it's like a actually living being, they will vote for them no matter what. And I think, like,
Crazy.
listen, I spend my day just like you guys overanalyzing everything about politics, and I could splice things this way and that way. At the end of the day, I don't think any of this matters. I think people vote off of feelings. They go in and the news cycle is very fast, very short, and it doesn't matter what's happening today or last week. It matters what happens the morning that they walk in to vote, right? And at the end of the day, most of the votes that matter are women's, and women vote off of abortion. So none of this actually matters, in my opinion.
Why do you think most of the votes that matter are women?
Because when we look at the breakdown of how people vote, married men, unmarried men, and married women, they overwhelmingly vote conservative. And it's only unmarried women that give Democrats such a heavy favor that it's not just swing states, it's the women in those swing states that are actually just really voting off of, again, the hypothetical abortion that they'll probably never have.
Yeah. It's almost as if there's kind of a larger agenda to keep people single, familyless, and of course dependent on the state more that's been in play for a very long time that has kind of warped the minds of a lot of young people, specifically women on social media, that make them, individuals that aren't able to kind of get along with each other. Now, again, there's also criticisms of males that we could make here as well that I think also have been kind of warped, especially when it comes to...
No, let's not do that. I think men are doing fine.
Especially when it comes to adult content that is readily available and becoming more of the kind of hyper norm, as of course the adult industry, I think, also warps a lot of the minds of the young men in this country that also prevent them from being able to have sustainable relationships and families together. But also this is a topic that it's very difficult to talk about on this particular platform.
Why do you think it was such a controversy when that J.D. Vance line that was years ago about Childless Cat Ladies? It's because he hit it on the head. Mm-hmm. That is actually the issue, is that Childless Cat Ladies are the voter base for the Democrats.
But they're weaponizing that statement in order to galvanize those cat ladies to vote against him.
Exactly.
So it works in a kind of double-pronged way.
I'm not saying it was necessarily smart to say it. I'm just saying it was true. That's what I'm trying to say, is that is their primary voting base. Is like it's the women who are careerists that have no interest in getting married or having kids, and they want to make sure that they can get rid of any accidental pregnancies all the way up until 9 months and 1 day for some ungodly reason. But I think that's why it was such a controversy, and that's why they used it the way they did, is because they realized this is going to piss them off, and we need them to vote.
And that's the issue that Kamala is kind of running on. That's the main issue. It should be the economy. It should be foreign policy. It should be the actual things that are affecting our lives. And Donald Trump kind of acquiesced to this during the presidential debates. He said it's a states' rights issue, and I think they're going to be running with that particular line. That did piss off some kind of conservatives and Republicans, but I think that battle has been absolutely lost.
But if you run on the economy, if you run on foreign policy, the Democrats lose terribly.
But that's not how people vote. At the end of the day, like, again, I agree with you, but it's like, we all love the Ben Shapiro line, right? Like, facts don't care about your feelings. That's the conservative way of thinking about politics. I always say feelings don't care about the facts, right? So how are you supposed to talk to a liberal? They don't care that the economy is crashing. They don't care that the border is open. They don't care that everything about their lives is worse than it was 4 years ago. None of that matters because the Democrats have been so effective at not just the actual conversation that you have out loud with your friends of, okay, maybe you don't admit to your friends that you want to vote for Trump, but you go into the voting booth and you do it. They've actually gotten into people's minds that when they are in the booth by themselves, anonymously voting, they can't pull the trigger for Trump. They can't.
Yep. I believe you.
What are some of the good talking points for Trump to tell one of these ladies, for example? Like, would it be like no tips?
Protection for IVF nationally. He's talked about that. The fact that, again, there have been more abortions since the overturning of Roe v. Wade with Dobbs than before. I know these are not popular things with conservatives. I'm not even saying what my opinion is on those topics. We just know that those of us on the right, we will vote for Trump no matter what. I will walk over broken glass to vote for Trump, and I think most people in the movement agree with that. But we need to get women voting for Trump. We need to also, there are many other populations we could get. Like I think of the gay community that's been really hurt by the T part of the LGBT, and they could actually split. And this is a moment where the Republicans can actually bring them into the party, and we're not, because they're all worried about IVF going away, for example.
We're going to move over to the next platform where we are going to be totally free and able to say whatever we want, which I'm super excited about, before going there to this particular platform that is actually now involved in a lawsuit against this current platform. This is the platform that we are live on right now. We're
going to open the first 5 minutes on this platform is just going to be us all screaming racial slurs. So make sure you don't miss it.
Yes, very angrily. So of course, it's going to be very entertaining. We already have 5.5 thousand people watching there live. So definitely go tune in to this particular platform. Before we go over there and everyone gives their outros, Steph, read the last kind of super chats here really quickly.
Okay, we have a super chat from Ziggy Poet saying, solo artist musician at Ziggy Poet, grinding for 4K watch hours, would love to connect with Ian. Love to Luke and Atlas, plus the crew. Drop a support, local art. Thank you, Ziggy Poet.
Keep going.
Ziggy Poet in the house.
Yeah.
Keep going really quick. Come on.
Okay. And then we have Richin HH saying, I sent you the screenshot. Steph, please show Luke.
I got the screenshot. I don't know if I could verify it, but this is allegedly showing the kind of balance of EBT that people are having. Again, can't confirm it. Don't know. Conversation continues. We still have a lot of very important issues to specifically talk about when it comes to the bigger lawsuit that's going to be unfolding now with Twitter, with another platform that we're jumping on against the platform that we're on right now. There's also a lot of very interesting conversations coming from the Olympics, a lot of interesting conversations coming about inbreeding. We'll be talking about that, plus a lot more, all on this platform right here that we are on the front page of. And we cannot incentivize you guys to vote with your clicks more than ever, as of course there's going to be another full hour of this show continuing there. Before going over there, totally unfiltered, totally uncensored. Before going over there, Aaron, where can people find out more information about you?
You can go to my Instagram at nonlibtake, and on Twitter, I'm Aaron Wexler. That's harder, though, because my name has a weird spelling. So just go to nonlibtake, and you'll find me.
Clint?
At Liberty Lock Pod on X. If you subscribe there, I'll follow you back. Liberty Lockdown is the show. I was on Part of the Problem with Dave Smith last night, and it was a banger, so make sure you check that out. And that's about it. Liberty. Tower Gang, 9:15. Don't watch that.
Tower Gang. At Ian Crossland, I really want to talk about inbreeding, so follow us. Follow me to the next platform. It's going to get hot.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this.
This is what I've wanted to talk.
Control yourself, Ian.
I'm trying, man. My hands on the table.
This is the top thing I wanted to talk about with Ian for years. So this is gonna be great. Yep.
I've got stuff to say about it.
Are you excited about the inbreeding topic, Steph?
No, this is new to my attention. I think I zoned out for a sec. You can find me on X at StephWRC. I'm the button pusher.
And at Ian Crossland, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't think we gave out your outro
Not her,
yet.
me. Yeah.
At Ian Crossland, go check him out, as well as, of course, we still don't have a caller. You could be that caller. Sign up right now to lookunfiltered.com, and we will be going to you in about 30 minutes. And you could call in and ask whatever you want, as now we officially leave the technocratic gulag platform that is being sued.